One more NBA slate to close out the week, and it's the biggest one of the week. In fact, many games to hit on, but of course, we're going to do what we always do here on Splash Play NBA. We're going to compare my projections to Stokastic's projections and see how right I am. Or wrong. It depends on the day. Of course, we're going to check the ownership as well. We're going to hop over to Unabated, check out some of the top betting markets. We're going to sim some lineups on Stokastic as well to find out the best plays and the highest ROI lineups on today's slate. Let's get into it. The biggest news of the day, which I presume Mullen Labe here is talking about. If you want to play LeBron, LeBron out today. So Anthony Davis, one of your chalk options. Frankly, getting him a lot here, as you can see, with my exposures in this column, based on the top 150 lineups I ran before the show. I got injecting my projections into Stokastic Simulator. I also forgot it's Friday. I have to open the beer. Duh. This is a bit. I brought the beer in here just for this. Again, one of those days where I'm like, I don't need a beer right now. I feel like when it's like really cold and I know I'm going to leave the studio, it's going to be fucking dark outside. I have to go pick up the kid. It's not a beery situation for me, but hey, TGIF, as Effect MD is saying here, cheers. Happy Fridays. It's a long week of work, boys. When the end of NFL season plus NBA season, I'm back in that grind again. But the good news here, we're giving out good takes for the most part every day. Nikola Jokic on this spot. And hopefully no Jakob Poeltl bullshit like yesterday. That was incredibly tilting, by the way. I mentioned it on the morning Splash Play show, but opened my phone at 7:31. And I'm like, what the fuck? Jakob Poeltl doubtful as I'm up reading books for Luka to go to bed. And I'm like, I can't believe this. And then the guy plays, and he plays terribly. It's an awful one. Long week of donations. I mean, honestly, NBA has been pretty nice to me for the most part. Yesterday, that was not. But yeah, look, hey, you're donating NBA. That's sometimes how it goes. Try to play smarter the next time out. Jokic, your top pick player in the slate. So Jamal Murray right now is questionable. Unabated has Jamal Murray as having a 45% chance to play. Apparently, according to some of the internal team preview documents that came out, they were talking about Jamal Murray as though he was going to be out for the game. He is still Q-tag right now on the injury report, so doesn't maybe matter that much if Jamal Murray is in or out. He's been playing awfully on the year. Usage rates are low, assist rates low, under 1 fantasy point per minute. I wrote that up today for the DK network, DraftKings network, talking about Unabated's conditional NBA projections. Basically, Jamal Murray just like a shell of himself this year, as we've talked about a lot on the show. So Jokic is going to be playable no matter what. If Murray's out, Jokic is going to project even better, soak up more usage, more points if they can even go any higher. Right now, the field will have Jokic at 28%. I'm getting him in 36% of my sim. Jokic, a great play. The price tag, though, is up enough here at 12.5. But I have him at 67.4. Stokastic has him at 67.5 fantasy points today. Top play on the slate right now based on those numbers. So Nikola Jokic, tough price tag, looking good. Anthony Davis, no LeBron for him. I'm getting AD a lot here, and I'm actually going to probably mute my AD down. It's the excellent 8 tournament today, so I'll probably get in 10, 20 lineups, depending upon how annoying Luka's being before bedtime. For Anthony Davis in the spot, I think he projects well. His court time without LeBron has been fairly good on the year. Anthony Davis without LeBron on the court, averaging 1.69 fantasy points per minute. Very nice number to see. Is shy of the 550 possessions we want to see hit for rates to really stabilize, but still 520 possessions on the year. 37% usage, 21.4% rebound rate, a 20% assist rate for AD, so doing a little bit of everything. He's the biggest beneficiary of all the guys when LeBron is off the court. So with LeBron out, AD a strong play. I have some real issues having him going head-to-head with Jokic, but I think AD is a good play. I think he gives you 60. I think the issue is that Jokic, especially if Murray's out, Jokic should give you 70. Jokic should give you 80. Jokic should give you 90. Like, these are all in the range of outcomes for him. Clippers, a down game, a little bit pace-wise for Denver. Maybe it's the one critique you can make of Jokic. But look, I'm getting a lot more AD right now, and I don't feel comfortable about it, is one thing I'll say. 2x AD, sure. This much XAD while being only a little bit above on Jokic maybe feels wrong. James Harden, getting him in 13% of lineups, he'll be in 11%. I'm at a 48.6 projection, which is flat with Stokastic at 48.6. So Harden, your pay down option of the top pay up studs, definitely a lower floor, lower ceiling as well, I would say, really for how he's played on the year. But Harden at 9,700, maybe if Jokic and Davis both fail, Harden gives you enough points. It's definitely a different construction if you go his way. Victor Wembanyama's on the FanDuel slate. I don't have him that well projected at 47 fantasy points. Brandon Miller getting me 46.4 for him. He's been decent on the year with LaMelo out. Now up to 700 possessions without LaMelo Ball in the court this year, averaging 1.15 fantasy points a minute, 32% usage and 18% assist rate. great numbers relative to Brandon Miller, maybe not so great for a guy who's priced at 9K. That said, I'm getting him in 28% of lives compared to the field's 15. Joel Embiid, I did not get at all. Embiid's rates this year have been down a lot. Stokastic, I am not sure what they're doing, if they're just taking his rates off entirely. We have seen Embiid be better since that issue with the locker room call out, I guess, even though he hasn't played a ton of games. Honestly, let me see what happens if I knock Embiid's rates down, because I'm so low on him here. He's going to apparently be chalked for the slate, and I got none of them, which I don't mind. Like, I'm happy to go head-to-head with Jokic and with AD versus Embiid. But if I give Embiid his previous season rates, I could get him up to 49.3, which would make him come up more. So that may be how I handle Embiid in the next run of sims I do. For right now, though, again, if we're just taking Embiid at his season-long numbers, I do weight projections more for this season. He hasn't played a ton of games this season, but going back to last year, he put up really good numbers. I don't think he is this good of a. I don't think he's this good of a play. I don't think he's this bad of a play. So maybe him settling in at 49.3 fantasy points won't feel that bad. But Embiid, that's a lot of chalk going to him. He's one of the chalkiest players in the slate. Some other ones are going to make you equally uncomfortable, but in different ways. Tough to trust Wemby this season. Too many guys who gun around him, unfortunately, when you have Vaseline, when you have Sohan in. Chris Paul definitely deferring in terms of usage and even his assist rate overall. But you have all the wings in. Keldon Johnson's out today. Zach Collins is out. That maybe helps Wemby a little bit on the Keldon Johnson front. But you still have Sohan and Vassell in there, and those guys are both like about 30% usage rate guys on the year. So it's hard for Wemby to have his true ceiling if other guys are taking as much usage, if not, close enough to him on a per game basis. Besides that, nothing else to point out here. Let's sort by value because we do have technically 8 games, really 6 games on the DK slate to talk about. One name we've seen as chalk before is going to come up again, guys, and you have to bear with it. So Vasilij Micic, chalk again. I feel like this is the one thing about NBA sometimes. The sport that feels the most like Groundhog Day, just repeating yourself over and over again, or The Edge of Tomorrow, that Tom Cruise movie where you just have to keep dying over and over. It's when the players are chalk again. You're like, what the fuck, man? You're back to it. Baseball feels the most like that. But NBA, when you get the same situation here, Vasilij Micic is playing all the minutes right now. Point guard playing upwards of 35 minutes. Stokastic has him projected for 33. That said, you do have KJ Simpson behind him. You do have Isaiah Wong behind him, who's more of a combo guard. They do have kind of running lead point for a few minutes a game. If those guys play well, Micic loses minutes. The thing, though, is that Micic is not losing the minutes lately. They seemingly have been a lot more to run a more stable offense. So Micic looks good. I'm at 30.4. Stokastic has him at 31.1. The field's going to be at 56%. I got him at 56.7. I do think today he's probably better chalk than he was a couple of weeks ago where the minutes were still insecure. They don't seem as insecure now. They've realized they need kind of a veteran point guard out there to actually keep the offense running appropriately. It's a matchup with Chicago as well for Charlotte. That's all good stuff, too. So Micic, chalk again. I get if you wouldn't want to play him. He does unfortunately look pretty good at that spot. Jay Huff from Memphis, another guy coming up here. The field's going to be at 5%. I'm getting him at 14 at 3,300, projected for 19.8 fantasy points. He's one of the ways you can afford some of the pay-up options. So Jay Huff, not a priority play, I'd say, but one I'm certainly getting enough that he seems like a big part of my top 150 set of lineups. Jared Butler, no Malcolm Brogdon today, so theoretically more Butler minutes to go around. He's up to 3,700, though. 21.4 is my projection. Stokastic has him at 21.1. A lot of usage go around for Washington, but still enough bodies to play minutes there. Washington also a 17. They were 17 and a half. Now it's a 17-point dog versus Cleveland. So a game where maybe Butler sees a few more minutes on the back end because of it being a blowout. But Butler looks okay here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be there, get him out. And this is the first game on the slate, too. So if there's other value that opens up, you play a lot of Jared Butler, you're going to be locked into Butler. So just one thing to keep in mind as sort of the reward risk equation for guys like Jared Butler in the first game. Norman Powell, getting a ton of Norman Powell, which has not been the case for me at any point this year. Getting him at 35.8 fantasy points compared to Stokastic's 32. He's not one of those guys that for me, I always notice like, I'm getting so much more Norman Powell than Stokastic is. But I am getting him today at 58% in the top 150 lineups compared to 33% for Stokastic's numbers. Not sure why it would be. There's minutes to go around with no Derrick Jones and also no Terrence Mann. That's been the case for about a week or so now. I think that's just basically it, is that because those guys aren't there, they leave their production behind. Norman Powell does a little bit of everything, especially rebounding, does the barest minimum of a little bit with 5% rebound rate. But he does have 27% usage, third highest on the team, behind Harden, behind Kevin Porter Jr. He's projected to play 33.9 minutes. So Norman Powell, not a play I would normally love, but does look pretty good. Relative positionality, the fact that he is shooting guard, small forward, and he's at 6,300, it works well. So Norman Powell, just one of those plays you don't really expect to have your day be made or broken by, and it's probably going to be the case for me today. Dante DiVincenzo, 3,900 and pretty bad on the year, but playing decent minutes, 23.8 minutes projection from him today. Getting about 2x the field here. You just need value in some amount of your lineups. That's what's happening for that. Anthony Davis, we talked about. That's the top value plays. Jonas Valanciunas, Jaden McDaniels, Marvin Bagley, these guys, all a bit of a value, all getting with the field or a little bit above it. All right, game by game here, let's take a look. And guys, if you're new around here, this is what I do every Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Thanks to our partners at Unabated. So please go check them out. Link in the description for that. Subscribe down below. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. All of that goes a long way here for me. Just one guy running 2 channels for the NFL and the NBA, showing up and doing the work here every day. And that is a promise, of course, doing the best I can, give you good data, show you the best tools. That is the whole thing we do here. Washington, 107.8 implied points. Cleveland, 124.8. And also, we're on that march of 500 subs, guys. Try and hit that before the new year. So please, if you enjoy this content, subscribe down below. Washington here. So again, you're missing Kyle Kuzma. You're missing Keyshawn George. You're missing Malcolm Brogdon. Enough guys who have been playing big minutes. Still a pretty decent rotation. You have 12 guys or 11 guys expected to get some amount of minutes today, based on what you're seeing on the screen here. Value-wise, Jonas Valanciunas, not bad at 5,500 in center. Not expected to play a ton of minutes at 23.6. Is splitting minutes now at the 5 with Marvin Bagley. So does hurt both guys a little bit to know there's sort of a push-pull on it. Same thing for Alex Sarr here, him being in. They all kind of compete for the same opportunity. A little bit of rebounds, a little bit of shots at the rim kind of stuff. Valanciunas looks okay to me, getting 29%. Not a priority again, but being in the third of lineups, hard to ignore that. He's been good on the year too, 1.34 fantasy points per minute. Alex Sarr, low on him. Koulibaly, low on him. Jordan Poole, I'm really low on him. Stokastic is fairly low on him with a 34.1 projection. He hasn't been producing a ton this year. A lot of these guys in Washington, all just competing for the ball, all trying to get their own shots up. Usage for Jordan Poole down under 30% as well, which has never been the case even in his Golden State days. So for Jordan Poole, he's deferring a lot more. He's been more efficient, 59% true shooting, about as good as he's been since he was a Warrior. For Jordan Poole, though, I have to highlight him because in a tournament play, somehow Washington hung in this game. It's probably because Jordan Poole just went out of his mind playing at Cleveland for reasons unclear. But with the spread being what it is, obviously, you assume Jordan Poole is going to get his ass kicked. So I'm okay not getting exposure there, but kind of have to say it out loud because it's weird to see him this lowly projected for me and honestly for Stokastic too. Jordan Champagny looking okay here, 27% sim ownership for me, here to 25%. Another modest value, though, if there's better value that opens up and you give away your slots to Champagny, to Jared Butler, to these guys, you might end up with some of the worst value on the slate. So just one thing to keep in mind here. A lot of Q tags coming up later in the day, including guys like Nikola Vucevic. If Nikola Vucevic weren't to start, you got Jalen Smith starting. He'd be one of the best plays in the slate by a wide margin. So keep that in mind here if you end up playing a lot of the cheap guys like Champagny. Probably worth keeping exposure down a little bit for them. Bagley will play some 5, yeah. And he's center on the slate. So, yes, he'd be center in all the traditional ways you would think about it. Bub Carrington, got none of him. Koulibaly, got less than field of him. Not much to note for me on Washington besides the guys we already talked about. Cleveland, getting very little here. All these guys project pretty poorly for me. Really nothing I could do about that. It's a high total here. I'm kind of surprised it's this low, but it's a big rotation now again. LeVert's back in, Yang's in, Dean Wade's in, your Sam Merrills are in. Really the only guy not in is Craig Porter's with the G League. Really for Cleveland overall, just a crowded team overall. But they can have somebody that's an outlier here. None of them project that well. Nobody above a 5x value for me. Darius Garland's the closest. I've been better projected than Stokastic at 36.6 compared to 36. But really, these guys just don't play big enough minutes. All of them projected for around 30. You would need to see Washington push them on the other side for them to get to maybe mid-30s, high 30s. Hard to see that happening in the spot. If you were to play these guys with the Jordan Poole, with Jonas Valanciunas maybe that's how you could play Cleveland guys more and ignore the projection and just try to get some good tournament plays that should have upside and a big pace-up spot for them. But Cleveland doesn't look that good. Indiana, 111. Philadelphia, 117.5. Again, you have my Joel Embiid projection, which reflects his rates and performance for the year. If I do change his rates to reflect the longer-term sample size, going back to last year and weighting them kind of evenly, Joel Embiid would look a little bit better to me, closer to 50 fantasy points. So that's something right now I'm just going to point out here, which is one of the big things I'll change after I do this video. That said, for Indiana, not a lot of these guys here. I'm always low on Halliburton, still low on him now, 36.8 fantasy points compared to 39. Siakam, low on him. Mathurin, a little bit higher on him, but not enough to get there. Miles Turner, flat on that, technically a little bit lower. Nothing really stands out here. Decent rotation. Guys getting okay minutes. Halliburton being a tournament play for other people, I could see doing that a little bit more. Still not a great projection from Stokastic, though. $8,600 salary, 39 fantasy points. Yeah, Halliburton is a tournament play I would get. Nembhard is an okay value. Even that, really don't care that much about it. Really do want to be mindful of not taking up value too much with the early games in case we do get something like Vucevic out. That said, like Indiana just doesn't make me feel much here. Nembhard, I could absolutely not play, and I'd be perfectly okay with it. Philadelphia on their side, low on Embiid. He's only averaging 1.22 fantasy points a minute. I gave him a 1.28 today with his rates for the year. Still only got him at 43.4 fantasy points. That said, Stokastic is buying in on him based on the longer-term sample that he's going to look better. He has looked a little bit better per game since having, again, the coach call out, the team call out that he had that was reported by the media ad nauseum. For Embiid here, he's really chalky. I'd rather have Jokic. I'd rather have Anthony Davis. Would rather have Cat if he were on the slate. Embiid's fine, I guess. It's a lot of ownership for a guy that really hasn't shown it enough this year, but that is what it is. Maxey, very low owned now. He's been priced for sort of a life without Joel Embiid, sometimes without Paul George. Is not the case tonight. Paul George, I think a decent price tag at $8K. He's going to move around for me here because if I do boost Embiid's numbers, I'm going to lose some of Paul George. That said, I was getting him a little bit more when I wasn't getting Embiid. So if you're fading Embiid, playing Paul George seems like a logical way to do that. And frankly, again, so much ownership going Embiid's way. I think I'm pretty cozy getting less Embiid than 44%. Lakers, 102.5 implied points. Minnesota, 111 implied points on their side. Not the highest paced game here. Two teams around 98-ish pace. For the Lakers, again, no LeBron today. So talked about Anthony Davis has been the big winner in court time without LeBron, averaging that 1.69 fantasy points per minute. Austin Reeves has also been pretty good this year in court time without LeBron. Only played 309 possessions so far, so not at the 550 we want to see for the rates to really feel stable. That said, he's had 27% usage, 24% assist rate, 1.12 fantasy points per minute for Austin Reeves. I think he's a better play than the projections are giving him credit for right now. That said, I got him at 11%, Fields at 6%, not a big stand. The AD stand for me is the biggest one here, getting him in 57% of lineups, or 67% of lineups, excuse me. Russell getting him in 16, Hachimura less than the field at 9, Dalton Connect at 4. Reeves, good play, I think. Russell looks like a better play. Not sure that I'm sold that he is. I think Russell and Reeves being appropriately owned together is about right. And AD, if I bump Embiid's projection, I think will come down a little bit more. To me, if you're going to have, you're going to play a 20 max, you're going to put in whatever entries into one of the big tournaments, I would try to really have an even split on AD, Jokic, and Embiid if you're going to buy that Embiid projection. All the guys, I think, have comparable reasons to play. Embiid's the cheapest. AD's, the mama bear in the middle. Jokic, I think, can come over the top most easily. As I mentioned, I feel like could put up 80, could put up 90 if you get Jamal Murray out. That's all the case here. And similarly, like they could all fail for different reasons. Like the Lakers, Minnesota's a tough team, does play pretty aggressive, swarming defense. Maybe they make it hard on them here. Gobert, certainly AD's been playing not a tough brand of basketball this year. That could be tough on him. There's ways they could all fail is really the main point here. So I think for AD, just trying to kind of get this ownership a little bit above the field. Jokic a little bit above the field. Embiid maybe a little bit under the field, but still getting enough of him. I think that's sort of the approach I would try to have at center. And then keeping in mind, too, if you pay down at center, a lot of the field tonight's going to be playing, 2 out of the 3, 1 out of the 3 high dollar centers. So it's a way to get unique, too. Like really, center is the most important position on the slate tonight because you either need to play it or you need to move away from it. But like there's 3 guys that stand on kind of a tier of their own. Besides that, for the Lakers, not much to talk about. Minnesota, nobody here looks great to me, but still getting a lot of these guys as values. Talk about DiVincenzo getting him 39% compared to the field's 19. Jaden McDaniels getting him, I wish he were Jaden Daniels, but getting him 38% compared to 23. Really just a guy that does nothing for me. 0.68 fantasy points a minute, but projected to get 30 minutes as a result. That is what that is. Naz Reid getting him at 27%. Mike Conley with some of my highest ROI lineups as well, getting him at 17%. Just a smattering of guys here who aren't great plays. In reality, the Anthony Edwards ceiling is probably the most important thing to note here. Julius Randle, he's just getting worse by the game here because he's starting to defer a little bit more, which is good for him. But really, like, he's not the old Julius Randle. You're still paying old Julius Randle price tags. Don't want to go there. Minnesota feels like Ant tournament option for sure. These guys all valid enough value guys, but none of them are really actually good plays in the traditional sense. For Charlotte, 112.8 implied points. Chicago, 119.3. Brandon Miller is the key play for me here. Again, having a little bit higher projected, given the rates he has with LaMelo off the court. 46.4 for me compared to 44.5 for Stokastic, so getting him about 2x the field. Miles Bridges, I'm low on, just not a big enough boost for him in court time without LaMelo this year. And he hasn't played in a big enough sample to give him a rate boost, so if you want to get leverage on Miller, given that he's decently owned, Bridges is the option, but Bridges is basically the same amount, so I'm not sure what you're doing there. Nick Richards, he can go off in spots like this, but there's enough of a timeshare now with Mark Williams back in. I don't think you want to play Nick Richards too much. Cody Martin, not a play for me. So Vasily Nicic, we talked about again. It feels like deja vu, feels like Groundhog Day with him being chalk. I feel like it was a Friday, too, the last time that he was super chalk like this. That said, for Nicic, minutes have been up. They've been seemingly less willing to go to KJ Simpson for whatever reason, even though Simpson does produce fairly well. He has started to play a little bit less well as well. I'm saying well too much. That's it for Nicic, averaging 0.76 fantasy points a minute on the year. And court time without LaMelo, though, that goes up a little bit more, averaging 0.83, 21.6% usage, 32% assist rate. I would have him at 0.91 today, given the matchup with Chicago. So it's a pace-up spot here. One of the highest-paced teams in the league with Chicago. Not a good defense. Nicic hopefully can play well in his court time, even though sometimes he just plays like shit. Josh Green, nothing there. Nothing else on Charlotte. Nicic is really the boomer bust play. And Miller, I still don't mind for tournaments. 9K, though, for Miller is a little bit asking a lot. Nikola Vucevic, questionable right now. It's talked about enough. I think Giddey's now probable, I think. But I think Levine might also be questionable in this spot. A lot of trade numbers floating around Chicago, too. Not that they have to do it now. No, Levine's probable, Giddey questionable, Vucevic questionable. Patrick Williams also questionable, too. So these guys, getting Williams back in kind of deflates everybody as a result. If Vooch were out, if Giddey were out, it would open things back up for Kobe White and Zach LaVine a little bit more, as well as Ayo Dosunmu. With all those guys being in, though, and technically a pace down versus Charlotte, even though Charlotte doesn't defend well. Not a lot of utility for me for Chicago on the slate. I can't imagine being here unless we get one of the guys out. Brooklyn, 109 implied points. Memphis, 119 implied points. Of course, betting markets coming up in about 6 minutes, guys. We go to the world unabated and get you the best prop bets we can based on their conditional NBA projections, so stay tuned. We got Brooklyn, 109 implied points. Cam Johnson coming up a good amount for me here. 28% of the field, or 28% compared to the field's 21%. I'm getting 19% Nick Claxton compared to the field's also 21. Not a big priority. Getting more of Dennis Schroeder, 9% compared to the field's 2.5. He's been producing pretty well in court time over the last season, this season. In court time without Cam Thomas, Schroeder is now at 766 possessions, 1.17 fantasy points per minute. I'm at that same 1.2 fantasy point per minute rate today. Cam Johnson also does get a little bit of a boost. Higher usage, more opportunity overall, higher assist rate for Cam Johnson as well. I would have him at 1.07 fantasy points per minute based on the court time without Cam Thomas. Today I have him at 1.8 in this game. Those are the main guys for me. Shooter, I think you can make the case to get more of. Price tag's up enough. $7,700 salary is a little bit tough to get to. Memphis, a tough defense as well. So really wouldn't go crazy into these guys, but the guys who can get their shot, Schroeder, Cam Johnson, would look the most appealing. Nick Claxton banging at center. Maybe you can make something happen. Schroeder wets the cooter. Thank you for that. He would wet the cooter more if he were like 7K flat. I think it would really stand out. 7,700 appropriately priced, but I think still a good tournament play. Memphis on their side. You're getting them low on Morant. The field's going to be a little bit higher on these guys than usual, but Morant doesn't project that well for me, unfortunately. Only 30.8 minutes for him. Rates are good for him on the year, 1.4 fantasy points per minute. Pace down versus Brooklyn, though, I'd have him at 1.35 today. Jaren Jackson, half the field on him. Getting Brandon Clark a little bit more. Jay Huff is a $3,300 center, coming up a little bit more if you can't afford the center options. Paying all the way down at center is definitely a viable approach. Jay Huff, Definitely not a play I'm excited about. But 1.12 fantasy points per minute, decent usage, decent rebound rate. That's it for Jay Huff. But really, Brandon Clark, semi-value play, power forward center. That's it. Memphis guys, tournament options, maybe only a 10-point favorite at home. Still a decent favorite, probably not a blowout there. You can play Memphis guys if you want, but not a priority to me. They seem appropriately owned. Clippers, 110.5 implied points. Denver, 116.5. There we go. Lines up beautifully on that one. Cheers. Clippers, and again, the Norman Powell thing, I just don't get why it's that much. You are missing enough guys here. The rotation's getting smaller, so it's really the main thing for Norman Powell in his 33.9 minutes. That said, I don't think he should be a 58% play for me, but he just makes lineups work, so that's what I'm getting him at. My top 150. James Harden, 13% sim exposure compared to 11%. I've been high on Harden throughout the year, flat with Stokastic and projection, though, 48.6. Zubac, I've been high on this year as well, but relative to this slate, hard to get to his 37.4 at a $7,400 salary. That said, we did see this win the other night. Bam Adebayo, 8K guy. There was a lot of ownership going to the cheap guys. That's sort of one way to win a slate is just to get off the price point. So you play Zubac, you play Vucevic as an example. That's one way to get away from either people paying down a lot to get value at center or to get the pay up options like Jokic, like AD, etc. Brandon Clark, I'm never that big on, but I got him 11%. That's enough. I really like those guys. Hard to see the minutes ceiling. You really want to get guys that can get you ideally to, mid 30s minutes. And there's just no pathway for Brandon Clark to do that. But I get it. What other Clippers to look at here? Kevin Porter, the field to have him 26%. I got him 15, which I'm happy to be a little bit lower on that. He's an okay value at 4,200, but only 23 minutes. Again, we want to see these guys ideally be able to play upwards of 30 to have a shot at having that tournament winning ceiling. Hard to do that when you're playing 23. But he can fill out a lineup, so I get it. Nick Batum, another one I don't feel that great about, but he's power forward center at 3,100, producing 0.58 fantasy points per minute. He's good enough to play at 25 minutes at producing 0.59. That said, if you're getting Nick Batum, it is what it is. If you're not getting Nick Batum, more power to you. He's not a good play technically. Denver on their side, we got Nikola Jokic. I'm getting him 36% here. That assumes Jamal Murray is in. I did not goose Jamal Murray's rate, just letting him roll as he's been, which is a 22% usage, 24% assist rate player who's not shooting that well and also contributing only 1 fantasy point per minute. Given the pace down versus the Clippers, I would have Jamal Murray if he plays at 0.91 fantasy points per minute. If he's out, he's going to open up more opportunity for Westbrook. Again, Jokic is going to look better. Gordon will look a little bit better. Braun will look a little bit better, or Brown will look a little bit better. Everybody else in Denver who does play meaningful minutes will look passable. Westbrook probably takes the biggest jump up. And I would say probably not a lock play, but closer to a decent tournament play will be around a 5x value. Jokic, though, is really the main thing here. Just been a monster. 1.76 fantasy points a minute. I'm at 1.83 when accounting for the matchup and everything like that. Jokic, clean split. Again, if you get it with Embiid, with AD, account 20%, 20%, 20% for those three, and then 40% for other center lineups, I think would be a really wise way to attack the slate if you wanted to. Assuming you're getting enough lineups in to make those count and playing the mini max. You have a 150 max and the excellent eights or something like that. I would do it that way. But Jokic, to me, highest upside center play. It's just that 12.5 price tag. We're now at historical when Westbrook was crushing back in the day. When Luka's been crushing, when Giannis has been crushing, we're getting to the point where he might be 13K in a slate coming up. Aaron Gordon, which means he's underpriced, I guess, technically. Aaron Gordon, okay play, 19% for him. Nothing else on Denver looks that good, but if you get Jamal Murray out, it will change things around. In our last games here, which are not on the DK slate, but I'll skim through for the FanDuel people. 120.5 for Phoenix. Nothing here looks that good. Kevin Durant in, Bradley Beal in, Booker in. They're all priced not to have everybody else in. Hard to love that. Utah, though, theoretically should have some ceiling given how bad Utah is. Still not a high pace spot. Nobody above a 100 pace. So really, Phoenix guys on FanDuel, knock yourself out. None of them look that great. Utah 113.5 here. Walker Kessler looks like the best play for me for the DK late slate. Nothing else here stands out that much. John Collins now appropriately priced at 7,700. Not a lot to do for that. Hater Revenge Russ gets a great boost bump. I mean, again, if Murray's out, it'll look like a lot better play, but there's not much he could do when it's Murray in and Jokic in. Let's get to 420 subs. Hey, I would support that. Hey, smoke if you got him, as we always say on the channel here. Our sponsors love to hear. San Antonio 114 implied. Again, high usage for all the other Spurs guys being in. No Keldon Johnson helps a little bit. But really, when you have Vaseline, you have Sohan with Wemby, something's got to give here. Sohan's usage is starting to creep down a little bit, down to 23%. Vassell creep down a little bit, down to 27%. But you want to see these guys be closer to like high teens, honestly, for Wemby to get where he has to go. Wemby never a priority play for me relative to his price tag. Hard to really pinpoint the block projections and stuff like that enough for me to think have him where he needs to be. FanDuel, I get it though, but honestly, there are better center plays that we already talked about for the FanDuel slate. DK late slate, I would get it more. Portland, you have Ayton and Klingon questionable for the spot. If both guys are out, it'll open up a lot of minutes overall, though not really benefiting anybody besides Robert Williams. And Robert Williams, hard to expect him getting a full run of minutes after being out for a decent chunk for that concussion stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure what you do with Portland right now. There's going to be value that open up if Ayton and Klingon aren't available, but we're not going to know that until much later. So good luck, FanDuel. I guess the best way to put that. Let's go to Unabated next, guys. And let me see. Let me try to log out. What I'm going to do for Unabated is I'm going to log myself out first. This way they won't log me out when I'm like pulling it up on stream. The issue is like this takes a minute to load and and it kills momentum. And if I have to talk over the Unabated video, it's going to fuck me up. All right, let's log out. Or logged out. All right, cool. Let's start the video. I'll log back in and we'll go over the world of Unabated in mere moments. But learn more about conditional NBA projections starting. And not logging in. It's parallel on Unabated. You want good betting markets, you want conditional projections, you get them with Unabated. Who's in, who's out? Get all the markets that reflect the different situations that can come up in an NBA slate. Nikola Vucevic is questionable. We'd have more answers. We have life on conditional NBA projections. Real-time NBA news. And here's the money shot, guys. Here's the one you want all over your sweet face, your chest. It's the graphs. Look at those graphs. It's some sweet graphs in your life with Unabated. Community as well. Community on there is popping off every single day. And you can talk to chat. Just don't get weird. Don't do dirty chats. They don't do that. I'm trying to bet. Unabated.com/NBA. Use the promo code SPLASH to get your money off. And let's go to Unabated now. And let's take a look at what we have here. So conditional guys right now. Usually we'd mark everybody in. Let's just leave it out. We have a big enough slate here that I think we can get enough bets without worrying about who's in and who's out. So let's try and do it that way. But if you are trying to do it for yourself, going game by game, taking the lines where it's like, oh, the injured player has a plus EV bet right now. If they don't play, I'll get it voided. That's one way to attack the slate. Another way to do it would be to just go and have a bunch of bets queued up for when guys are ruled out. You can then pivot to them. That's basically how it would look. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to not do the in or out today because we got so many Q tag guys. Shout out the chats as well. Here we go. All the chats always. People always start perking up whenever the Unabated video comes on. Jalen Wells, under 8.5 points for him. -110 odds on DK Sportsbook gets you the best EV on all the points bets. 16.6% EV for Jalen Wells, under 8.5 points. Playable on PrizePicks and Underdog as well, under 8.5 points on there. And on FanDuel, you could still bet it. 12.9% EV for Jalen Wells, under 8.5 points. Dorian Finney-Smith, over 8.5 points, gets you 15.8% EV for a PrizePicks Pick'em. Looks like that line got killed on Underdog. Still available on DK Sportsbook, 8.7% EV for over 9.5 points. At plus money odds, plus 100 odds on DK Sportsbook for Dorian Finney-Smith, over 9.5 points. D'Angelo Russell, under 15.5. And again, this is with the Lakers guys. We know their status. D'Angelo Russell, 13.7% EV on under 15.5 on PrizePicks, not on Underdog. You don't want it on DK Sportsbook or FanDuel. But D'Angelo Russell under 15.5 points on PrizePicks. A good one for add to your pick'em slips. Jake LaRavia under 7.5 points, 11.7% EV for him on Underdog Sportsbook. Not available everywhere else. And I shouldn't say Underdog Sportsbook. Underdog Pick'ems, not a sportsbook. I don't know what the sportsbook says. Please do separate things. Don't get me in trouble. Joel Embiid under 30.5 points, 10.9% EV. Prop markets in favor of Embiid being back to normal Embiid shit. The 28.7 point projection here and the line here at 30.5. So Joel Embiid, I'm going to adjust my data, but getting him at -120 odds on DK Sportsbooks look good. Probably don't want to play it on Pick'ems, but you can play it on FanDuel Sportsbook under 29.5 points at -102 odds. So still a good projection on him, but you are taking the under here for Joel Embiid. Yusuf Nurkic, 10% EV on over 7.5 points. That one's minus 102 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. Bettable as well on DK Sportsbook at minus 105 odds, but you don't want it on your pick'em sites. They've had it priced up. Yabusele, Gershon Yabusele, over 7.5 points, plus 104 odds. Gets you 9.6% EV. A little bit harder to love that with Embiid back in, but it's playable on on FanDuel Sportsbook, not playable on DK Sportsbook. Plus 104 odds for Yabusele, over 7.5 points. We go to rebounds next. Let's sim these bad boys out. Your NBA Cup games for tomorrow? Okay. It's odd they're putting the NBA Cup games on Saturday. I feel like that's going to get buried. Just everything else going on. All right, here we go. Hopefully this will sort now and get us all our bets in. Oops. There we go. Devin Vassell under 3.5 rebounds. Underdog Pick'ems looks good there. 16.8% EV for Devin Vassell. Lower on 3.5 rebounds on Underdog. Lowry Marketing under 6.5 rebounds. 14.2% EV for that on PrizePicks. Close to playable on DK Sportsbook, but you probably don't want it. You want over an 8% EV. Same thing for FanDuel as well. But Lowry Marketing on PrizePicks under 6.5 rebounds looks good. And the usual Pick'em minus 118 odds. Chris Dunn, 12.6% EV on over 3.5 rebounds, plus 142 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook on that. Not playable on DK Sportsbook, and it's been removed from the Pick'ems, but Chris Dunn over 3.5 rebounds looks good on FanDuel. Bub Carrington, a.k.a. Carlton, under 4.5 rebounds for him today, minus 118 odds, the usual Pick'em rate on PrizePicks. Close to playable on DK Sportsbook at under 4.5, minus 130 for Bub Carrington. You don't want it on FanDuel. Kevin Durant under 6.5 rebounds, minus 148 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook gets you 11.9% EV. You can't play him on the Pick'ems, and you can't play him on DK Sportsbook. Bradley Beal over 3.5 rebounds gets you 9.7% EV, minus 115 odds on DK Sportsbook. You're also getting 8.4% EV at minus 118, the usual Pick'em odds on PrizePicks and Underdog. That's over 3.5 for Bradley Beal rebounds today. Is it playable on FanDuel? And playable on FanDuel as well at minus 118, but a little bit better on DK Sportsbook at minus 115. Austin Reeves, 9.5% EV on over 3.5 rebounds, plus 100 odds for that. Not playable on the Pick'em sites and not really playable on DK Sportsbook. Okay, for the sim EVs, looking for over 8%. For a market-based EV equation, over 2% is enough to do you pretty well over the course of a larger sample size. If you're tuning in for DFS lineups, stay tuned here. We're going to do these stochastic portion of things in a moment. If you want to skim to the beginning as well, just talk about all my projections and that, comparing to stochastic. That's how this goes here. And of course, new videos Monday to Friday at 4 p.m., guys. So please hit that like button, subscribe. It does matter a lot here for me. Just one guy, one little old guy here doing the best I can to fight off the big evil corporations while using their products that are also decidedly not evil. All right. I would love to have like a root for the little guy mom and pop shop angle, though. That'd be pretty helpful, I think. Kevin Durant, this is a weird one. So FanDuel just has a broken line right now. Kevin Durant over 3.5 is plus money. Kevin Durant under 2.5 is plus money. That would be an arbitrage opportunity where you are hitting on either side of it. I guess the one way you wouldn't hit would be if he lands at 3 flat, which is how it goes. But plus EV on over 3.5 assists, plus EV on under 2.5 assists. You can't hit both, but you can take both if you want. Though I guess you would lose money taking. That's so odd. You never see something like this. That's just a misprice, though, either way, even though I'm not entirely sure what you're going to get. Are you talking about Jokic? You please go ahead and fade Jokic because of the tough Clippers defense. I encourage you to do it. I think you'll have a great time doing that. Devin Vassell, 19% EV on this one, under 3.5. At least you didn't say an individual matchup. I'll give you credit for that. You didn't go, Ivica Zubac is going to shut down Nikola Jokic, but it's really, for somebody like Jokic, there's nothing you can do to stop what he does. Maybe you worry about the wing guys getting shut down more and the game blows out, but at this point, Denver can't afford that to happen. Brooklyn, over 5.5 assists for Devin Booker, over 5.5 assists on PrizePicks, gets you 16.1% EV. I can't believe somebody's talking about fading Nikola Jokic in the chat. Just throws me for a loop. Booker, though, over 5.5 rebounds playable on PrizePicks and nowhere else. 16.1% EV for Booker, over 5.5 assists. Kevin Durant under 3.5 assists, minus 166 odds. Seems like the Durant thing hopefully getting fixed. Okay, John, I encourage you then to play that your way. I don't agree, and I'm not going to go back and forth with you over a take that I don't think is that good. Alex Sarr, over 1.5 assists for here. 12.6% EV. It's also, we're not debating Jokic here now. That you're on a different part of the video, man. I've moved on. It's 12.6% EV for Alex Sarr, over 1.5 assists. Available on PrizePicks and Underdog. You cannot play it on DK or FanDuel. Anthony Davis, over 3.5 assists for him. 9.6% EV on FanDuel, -108 odds. Not playable on PrizePicks, Underdog, or DK Sportsbook. Bub Carrington, over 3.5 assists. -142 odds, gets you 8.7% EV on FanDuel Sportsbook. Can't play him on your Pick'ems. Dennis Schroeder, under 6.5 assists, 8.4% EV. That one's good on PrizePicks, not good anywhere else. And Jordan Poole, under 5 assists. That one's playable on PrizePicks. I feel like PrizePicks, got to say, I don't have a PrizePicks promo code. If you're going to play some Pick'ems, play them on PrizePicks because they have soft lines consistently every single day. PRAs, last but not least. Hopefully, have some Nikola Jokic unders, given how terribly he's going to play today. I mean to make fun of John, for the record. I just strongly disagree. Especially if Murray is out, like, you got to play Jokic because he will do everything that occurs statistically for the Nuggets in that time period. Even if they got blown out, he still might give you 65 to 70. I don't know. All right, here we go. As a Clipper season ticket holder, don't fade Jokic. The game is 198 Clips win. Jokic should have a 30-point triple-double. That's also true. Yeah, again, fading a player for defensive reasons, generally never a thing. Everything's accounted for, and I think this is like an important part of things. With my projections, with Stokastic's projections, with Unabated's projections, with everybody's out there, Vegas totals account for matchup, pace, everything else. It's all rolled in. You double counting because you're like, the Clippers play a good defense. It's not going to help anybody, but that's basically it. I got Infect MD. I don't need you to chime in as Peacemaker. It's more the point of how to think about this stuff in general. Like, whenever people are saying things like that, I tend to think that you're not viewing DFS in the right prism, which is about pricing and about Vegas totals and about everything that comes out of that, players who are available on the team and the usage that goes down with that as well, the rates of what they've been on the year. That's stuff that matters. Worrying about an individual matchup that's been covered by everything else that's in that prism. So, like, don't talk yourself out of plays because of things that are already kind of locked in. If Jokic were playing Chicago today, same price tag, same situation, he would probably project for 80 fantasy points. So, like, that's the trade-off. Instead, he's projected for high 60s, so that you're getting it already knocked in. D'Angelo Russell, 31.2% EV on PrizePicks. That's the main one to play right now, under 27.5 PRAs for D'Angelo Russell. Looks like it's not playable on DK Sportsbook, and you probably don't want it on FanDuel either. Devin Vassell, 13.4% EV on under 25.5 PRAs on Underdog. That one's the traditional pick'em lines there, not available on DK Sportsbook, not available on FanDuel. Yusuf Nurkic, over 16.5 PRAs, looks good with 12.6% EV on PrizePicks and Underdog. That one's been pulled on DK. DK and FanDuel, I do think, are getting the unabated lines fast. So if you want to get ahead of me here, make sure to get unabated for yourself. Check at the moment they release their projections at 4:30 because the sports books do seem to be adjusting to the lines very quickly in a way the pick'em sites are not. Jalen Wells, under 13.5 PRAs, 12.6% EV on your pick'em sites, not available on DK Sportsbook or FanDuel. Joel Embiid, under 45.5 PRAs. So value on the under, even though they are pretty much giving him a solid line here. Under 45.5 PRAs at -120 odds at 9.1% EV. You don't want that one on the pick'em sites, only on FanDuel Sportsbook for Joel Embiid's under on 45.5 PRAs. Harrison Barnes, 8.4% EV on under 18.5 PRAs. That one's on PrizePicks only. And Marcus Smart, available on PrizePicks and Underdog, under 16.5 PRAs. To round out your pick'em card for Marcus Smart, under 16.5 PRAs. There we go, guys. Shouts to Unabated. Check them out. $30 off the promo code SPLASH. Unabated.com/NBA. Learn more about their tools and data, and go check them out for yourself. Now let's get some good DFS lineups here. See what Stokastic thinks. Of course, with just their data, mine not a part of the picture, as you saw, based on my sim exposures up top. Let's see what we get here. Simming it out now. And again, one last ask. Always great to see us back above 100 concurrents on here. Show some love. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button here. Trying to move towards 500 subs here so we get the channel monetized, get on the right track here. It's been about a month and change here of doing great videos on the channel. I appreciate you guys being part of it, but I appreciate you even more when you subscribe down below and hit the like button, because I'm just one dude here showing you my gambling. Lucky enough to do it with some great partners like Unabated, like Stokastic, but it goes a long way if you hit that subscribe button down below. And of course, like, comment after the fact, whatevs. Let's see what we get sim-wise. And I got to drink this beer before I go pick up a child from daycare. Always a good thing to go into your child's daycare with fresh beer on your breath. They'll think really highly of me as a gentleman. Though I know I'm not the only parent. I've seen those wine moms. We know what they do. Fucking Micic, man. I can't believe it's another Micic slate. I can't believe it. Really, after the last Micic chalk, really thought we were done with Micic. Thought we'd be in a world where KJ Simpson was going to take over the job. And nope, we are back in Micic town with him playing those mid-30s minutes over and over and over again lately. What a world. Oh, to be an Eastern European guard. You just get chance after chance. It just doesn't matter what you do. Granted, they need him. Like LaMelo's calf strains feels like it's going on for fucking ever. That's true. The beer is for work. It's because of the vibes I'm trying to put out there. Guilty of daycare whiskey breath. That's tough. There was a point, I mean, during the summer, like Alex and I will sometimes go to like a brewery by his daycare, by Lucas Daycare, and like go get a beer before going. It's like, it's, I don't think it's like crazy. It does make you feel like a little bit of a dirtbag, but then again, I go in like basketball shorts and sweatpants every day. So how much, I guess, how high up the dirtbag rankings am I going? I don't need to impress those fuckers. My kid's the one who needs to impress them. I'm impressive in other ways. When they see that outline of that sweet bulge in my sweatpants. No, that's not it, guys. That's not, it's not this kind of stream. You're just waiting for lineups here. Have to hear about sweet bulges. Let's make the screen bigger. Your top 5 ROI lineups. Number 1, Jared Butler, Karis LeVert, Justin Champagny, Naz Reid. The fucking Champagny boys just can't avoid him on a slate. Naz Reid, Joel Embiid, Josh Giddey, Jaden McDaniels, Nikola Jokic. So both pay up centers here. They're saying just go take the Embiid discount, go over the top and get him and Jokic. That's fun, but rare to see that being your top ROI lineup. Number 2, Josh Giddey, Karis LeVert, Champagny again, Naz Reid again, Joel Embiid again, D'Angelo Russell, Nicholas Batum, and Anthony Davis. So a different way to get in the high dollar centers, and you are paying up a little bit more in point guard with Josh Giddey as opposed to Jared Butler. Number 3 here, Jared Butler again, Desmond Bane, Justin Champagny, Naz Reid, Nicholas Claxton, D'Angelo Russell, Miles Bridges, Nikola Jokic. Number 4, John Morant, Karis LeVert, Jaden McDaniels, Miles Bridges, Nicholas Claxton, Micic, Nicholas Batum, and Nikola Jokic. So Micic not dominating the top of the chart here for at least the highest ROI lineups, even though ownership-wise, he's going to be everywhere. Jared Butler, Karis LeVert, Justin Champagny again, Naz Reid, Joel Embiid again, Kevin Porter, Norman Powell, Nikola Jokic. So glad to see Powell in one. Jokic, 2 pay-up centers. Hate to say it, but like legit paying down at center for both positions and just trying to get studs elsewhere. There aren't a lot of studs in the slate. That's the tough part. But like if the Sams are feeding people this, people are naturally going to play it. Projection-wise, they look the best. Like there's no reason people won't try to play at least one of the high dollar centers, if not both. So if you were to limit max 1 or just go all the way down, just get different. It's one way to attack the slate for sure. Your highest ROI players in the top 150 lineups, it's Justin Champagny at 1.5% positive, everybody else slightly negative, but it is in order. Nikola Jokic, Karis LeVert, Nick Batum at that $3,100 salary. He is an awful play, but he makes lineups work. Jared Butler, a less awful play, but still not a good one. He makes lineups work. Naz Reid, those are your guys right now. Your top exposed players, Champagny in 69% of fucking lineups. Get the fuck out of here. Washington's got minutes to go around on the wing. I get it. I think Champagny would play in a blowout, most likely. So I guess that's okay. But I don't know, man. $4,500 Champagny should not be the thing that defines your slate, I don't think. I'll tell you, again, the same thing I do for every slate here, what I will do when I actually make lineups. I'll just show you the process in case you are going to use the Stokastic sim. I'll take because I'll probably put 20 in the $8 tournament today. I'll put on 4 uniques, and I'll take the top 20 lineups. You see how the ownership changes around here where you're going to naturally get less Champagny. It's still a lot, though. Yeah, I mean, look, you might be stuck with Champagny no matter what. If I put 4 uniques on and Champagny's still in it, you might just get fucked with Champagny. But anyway, point being is if you put the uniques on, you'll get a little bit of a different look there. So you can maybe get some guys out that are appearing a little bit too much. That's what I do when I'm putting in my final entries, the ones that I'm not, hand manipulating. Especially for a 20 max, I think it's a good way to attack it. But follow your hearts, obviously. All right, back to exposures. Nikola Jokic, you're getting him 65% compared to 28%, so they don't share the concern. The site with all the $1 million DFS players where they made a site and they put all the best data into it and they pay the data people to make them good projections so they can keep winning millions of dollars. They would also say that Nikola Jokic is probably not a thing to worry about with the Clippers defense. No, sorry to John. He gave a take, and I'm just dunking on him. Welcome to Splash Play, though. This is kind of what the show is. Nikola Jokic, though, great play, highly projected. If Murray's out, it's going to look even better, though he's going to get chalkier if Murray's out as well. Micic, 54% compared to 56, so not the top ROI lineups, but still a play where you're basically holding hands at the field. Hard to ignore him in that level of lineups. Joel Embiid, 49% compared to 44. A little bit of a stand there. If I juke my data, I think I'll get him more, but I still don't think I'm going to get to that much exposure as they want. Naz Reid, 43% compared to 24, so big leverage there. And Karis LeVert, you're getting him 37 compared to 15. You can see some more guys here. Your overall highest leverage plays, they want you to get a lot more. Champagne, 44% more. Nikola Jokic, 36% more. Karis LeVert, 21% more. The LeVert thing, it's just this price tag works. 45, 47. Naz Reid, 46. That's why you're getting these guys. It doesn't mean they're actually good plays. They're just making lineups work. So if you were to have another $4,500 guy you like, $4,700 guy you like, whatever, plug those guys in. If you don't like LeVert, don't like Naz Reid, don't like Champagne, these guys are going to naturally get in a lot of lineups because they're making them work. Jared Butler, 14% leverage on him at 3,700. And Batum, you're getting 13% leverage on him, 2x the field on Nick Batum. What a play in 2024. Your most negative leverage plays in Stokastic's top 150. They want you to get less Norman Powell. That sucks because I'm going to get more. So I got to run against it. One thing I will say, I did watch the Endgame Syndicate Roundtable, which you're trying to, if you appreciate the way I talk about DFS, those guys are 10 times smarter, better about the stuff, have even better proprietary tools at their disposal that aren't these mainstream ones. They were talking about Utica in particular, saying he'll run the post-contest sims. If you know Utica, he's one of the best players in DFS in the world, has made untold millions, plays more lines than anybody else in the world, and he also hand builds his stuff through Fantasy Cruncher. Like he hand builds it, like it's sort of a controlled optimization is a better way to say it. But he doesn't use sims. He'll run the post-contest sims, and he wants to see that he's not like in the negative, like his lineups aren't looking bad, but he's happy to be around 0%. It's important to keep in mind that like you shouldn't be striving to be around 0% because you're not Utica, you're not winning millions. Same thing for me. But like just because a play like isn't coming up as positive ROI doesn't make it a bad play. It's just reflecting what the projection set has. So for Stokastic, they don't think he's a fantastic play at 6,300 with that projection. They can get away from it. They're trying to move you to these $4,500 guys. That's all sort of the trickle down effect of it. But like, I just want to point that out because I'm going to play Norman Powell. It might give me a negative ROI in the post-contest sim, and I'm not going to worry about that because like that's what my projection set gives, and those things you have that are unique to you, as long as you're not coming about them stupidly or, you know, from not knowing enough, let's say, like just play the stuff. So Norman Powell, he's under here. If I'm over on it, it is what it is. Cam Johnson, 12% compared to 20, so negative leverage there. Zach LaVine, you're getting like none of, 1% compared to 8. LaVine would benefit if Giddey and Vucevic were out, so that would change things a little bit for that. Rui Hachimura, 7% compared to 13. Desmond Bane, 4% compared to 11. And Donovan Mitchell, 5% compared to 11. So those are your stands here. Nothing too crazy. Low on Rui, though, even without LeBron in, is I guess maybe interesting to note. All right, the splash plays of the day. Before we do that, guys, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Appreciate 122 of you watching live, but I appreciate you even more if you do subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to that 500 mark for subscribers here. It's a big goal before the new year, so help me hit the goal. Of course, I'm going to keep doing the work no matter what. Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. here on the channel. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash with the promo code SPLASH. If you want to build some pick'ems like we saw here on the stream, Stokastic, 15% off. That's in perpetuity as well. Best deal they have, and they don't have any more going in general anyway. But that applies for their data, their tools, their lineup generator, their sim stuff, all of it. Even if you get the most expensive package, you still get 15% off with that promo code. Unabated, same thing. Support them. They help me put on the show. $30 off with the promo code SPLASH. Splash plays of the day. I mean, I think at this point, it's got to be Nikola Jokic. I think I defended him. I probably alienated that guy. But you know what? That's what we do here. We have to fucking point out what's not good thought process in DFS. It's what my value is as a human being here. And for you on YouTube, that's what I do. So Nikola Jokic, smash play of the day. Though I do think, though, or splash play rather, Jokic, Davis, Embiid, trying to balance it out a little bit. Sims will like Embiid more. I prefer Jokic the most. AD still very credible as well without LeBron out there. They're all really good plays in the slate. But the main thing to keep in mind, though, is like play them in lots of, good amounts, or just move away entirely from it if you want to play the tournament brain. Like everybody's been paying up at center today, so you can get different on it. Besides that, really, I think it's got to be Micic. Not huge stance for me on the slate. Like, not guys that are jumping out a bunch. Micic and Norman Powell, I think, are the two I'm getting a lot more of than the field. And I won't back down against the sim, as I mentioned. So Vasily Micic, Norman Powell, throw them both in. Micic, I hate seeing Micic chalk day again. He's playing 30-plus minutes. If KJ Simpson or Isaiah Wong steals minutes, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you, but Micic seems like he's locked into the role. He's playing Chicago. I'm going to take him today. But that's it for the week, guys, here on Splash Play NBA. Of course, back on Sunday for the NFL video on the @Splash Play Pod channel, where I do all my NFL content. Check that out. Remember to gamble responsibly here, even if it's the weekend. Even though it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Shout out to all you guys hanging out. Cheers. See you on this Beer Friday. And hey, make it count. $8 NBA slate on DraftKings. Always fun to plunk in 10, 20 entries. You don't have to break your bankroll if you only put in a couple, like whatever. Just do it. Take a shot at the big money. Play it for fun. That's what I would say. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your weekends and good luck. Bye-bye.